In 2154, humanity's long-standing quest to find extraterrestrial life culminated with the arrival of the Thalrians from Proxima Centauri. Dr. Michael Harris, a cultural anthropologist, was among the first to greet them on Nova Prime, a space station designed for such historic encounters. As Michael prepared the conference room, his assistant buzzed through his communicator. "Dr. Harris, the Thalrian delegation has arrived." "Thank you, Emily. I'll be right there." Walking into the reception hall, Michael's eyes immediately found Lyra, who stood slightly apart from her delegation. Her vibrant opalescent skin shimmered under the artificial lights, and her eyes, wide with a scholar's curiosity, surveyed everything with keen interest. "Welcome to Nova Prime," Michael began, extending a hand, mindful of the Thalrians' known comfort with human customs. Lyra took his hand, her grip firm yet cautious. "Thank you, Dr. Harris. We are eager to learn from and with humanity." As they walked together towards the labs, their conversation quickly delved into their mutual passion for anthropology. "I am particularly interested in human expressions of emotion," Lyra confessed, as they passed through the holographic displays of Earth and Thalrian histories. "That's a vast area of study. Perhaps you'd like to start with something simple? Maybe the concept of affection?" Michael suggested, noticing her intrigue. "Yes, that would be most enlightening," Lyra replied, her voice tinged with excitement. In the privacy of the research lab, surrounded by books and artifacts from countless worlds, Michael decided to demonstrate. "Human affection can be quite complex because it involves not just actions but also context and consent," he explained, moving a bit closer to her. "How so?" Lyra asked, her gaze fixed on him, a slight tilt to her head indicating her attention. "For instance, if I were to express affection, I might do this." Carefully, he took her hand in his, the warmth of his touch contrasting with her cooler, smooth skin. He watched her reaction closely, ensuring she was comfortable. Lyra's eyes widened, a soft glow emanating from her cheeks, an apparent sign of her pleasure. "And if I wished to reciprocate?" she inquired, her voice a whisper. "You could do the same. Or let your actions speak, like this," Michael continued, slowly bringing her hand to his lips for a gentle kiss on the back of her palm. It was a bold move, but her smile was all the permission he needed. Lyra mimicked his action, her lips pressing against his hand. "It's quite powerful," she admitted. "This human way of connection." "It can be," Michael agreed, his heart racing with the realization of this moment's significance. "It's about sharing moments, feelings, and ultimately, building trust." Their eyes locked, and a silent agreement passed between them, a mutual desire to explore further. Lyra stepped closer, her breath mingling with his. "Michael, I must confess this interaction is unsettling in its intensity. I feel as though I can't control myself." "And that," he whispered back, his hands framing her face gently, "is also a part of being human." Their lips met, a cautious yet undeniable affirmation of the new and thrilling path they were about to embark upon, driven by curiosity and an emerging affection that neither fully understood but were equally eager to explore. As they parted, both out of breath, the promise of what lay ahead filled the space between them. Tonight, they would begin their journey, not just of scientific inquiry, but of personal discovery and the navigation of an interstellar relationship built on the tender foundations of unexpected love. The morning after their first profound encounter, Michael found Lyra in the botanical section of Nova Prime, a place where gravity seemed to hesitate, and plants from various worlds floated slightly above their beds, creating an ethereal atmosphere. "Good morning, Lyra," Michael greeted, his voice soft, still resonant with the memory of their kiss. Lyra turned, her expression brightening upon seeing him. "Michael, I was just examining these fascinating specimens. Did you know this one reacts to emotional stimuli?" she said, pointing towards a luminescent fern-like plant. "I didn't," he confessed, moving closer to observe the plant. "Seems like a perfect subject for our studies." "Indeed," Lyra agreed, her eyes flicking back to him with a playful spark. "Speaking of which, I've been thinking about our conversation last night, about emotions, touches. I find myself eager to learn more." Michael smiled, intrigued by her enthusiasm. Well, how about we continue our exploration with something simple, comfort? Lyra nodded, her gaze attentive. Michael reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face, a classic human gesture of intimacy and care. This is a comforting gesture, he explained, his hand lingering near her cheek, giving her time to savor the warmth and presence. Lyra's skin glowed slightly under his touch, the subtle shimmer more pronounced. It's very calming, she murmured, leaning into his palm. Encouraged, Michael wrapped his other arm around her, pulling her gently into a hug. And this is a hug. It's meant to offer comfort and safety, he said, feeling her body tense slightly, then relax as she acclimated to the embrace. After a moment, Lyra reciprocated, her arms hesitantly wrapping around him. I can see why this would feel reassuring, she whispered, her voice muffled against his shoulder. As they separated, Michael caught her hand, leading her towards a bench by the window overlooking the starfield. They sat, their shoulders touching lightly. Human relationships often build on these small exchanges. Each one deepens the connection, layer by layer. Lyra considered this, turning to face him. Is it always so progressive? It can be, or it can be sudden, overwhelming. But the best connections, they grow over time through shared experiences and mutual understanding. Lyra's hand found his, her fingers intertwining with his. Like us? She asked, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. Exactly like us, Michael affirmed, squeezing her hand gently. They spent the next hour discussing different emotions, joy, sadness, fear, and how humans typically express these through body language and actions. With each concept, they practiced gentle touches, each touch a word in their new shared language. As the station's artificial night began to fall, Michael stood, offering his hand to Lyra. Let's take a walk under the stars, he suggested, an invitation to continue their intimate dialogue. Lyra took his hand, her trust palpable. I would like that very much. Their walk through the dimly lit pathways of Nova Prime was quiet, but filled with unspoken words and subtle glances. Each star above them seemed to shine a little brighter, reflecting the blossoming connection between two beings from worlds apart. By the time they returned to her quarters, neither wanted to say goodbye. Standing at her door, Michael leaned in, his intention clear. Lyra met him halfway, their kiss a natural culmination of the day's emotions, a tender, explorative connection that promised more to come. As they parted, Lyra's whispered words lingered in the air. I truly can't control myself with you, and perhaps I don't wish to. With a smile and a promise to see her in the morning, Michael left, their burgeoning relationship a new frontier neither had expected to explore when they first met under the banner of science. The next day, Lyra arrived at Michael's lab with an intriguing proposal, her eyes alight with the spark of discovery. Michael, I believe I've found something extraordinary in the Thalrian archives that might help us understand my unique emotional responses, she announced as she entered. Michael looked up, his interest immediately piqued. That sounds promising, Lyra. What did you find? I accessed some ancient texts, records that predate our current societal norms. It appears there were once Thalrians who felt emotions just as humans do, Lyra explained, setting her data tablet on the table between them. Really? Michael leaned forward, scanning the text she presented. This could change everything we know about your species. It already has for me, Lyra confessed, her voice a mix of excitement and nervousness. I always thought there was something wrong with me, that I was an anomaly. Michael reached across the table, covering her hand with his in a gesture of support. You're not wrong, Lyra. You're just rare, and that's incredibly special. Lyra smiled, her fingers squeezing his reassuringly. I've been considering a hypothesis, she continued, that these emotions aren't just remnants, but perhaps an evolutionary branch that was suppressed or lost over generations. That's a fascinating theory, Michael said, genuinely impressed. It could explain why you're able to experience and express emotions more deeply than others of your kind. And why I'm so affected by our interactions, Lyra added, her gaze meeting his with an intensity that made his heart skip a beat. Michael suggested, why don't we run some tests? We could use biometric sensors to analyze your responses to various emotional stimuli. Lyra nodded eagerly, I would like that. It might provide the empirical evidence we need to support my hypothesis. They spent the afternoon setting up the equipment, placing sensors that would measure Lyra's heart rate, skin conductivity, and brain activity. As they worked, their movements around each other became a dance of familiarity and ease. "Ready?" Michael asked, once everything was in place. Lyra took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Ready." Michael began with simple stimuli, images and sounds designed to evoke reactions. He watched the monitors carefully, noting how Lyra's physiological responses spiked with certain images, particularly those depicting human families and couples. Seeing her react so viscerally, Michael felt a blend of professional triumph and personal connection. "Lyra, look at this," he said, pointing to the graphs displaying her reactions. "Your responses are off the charts here." Lyra examined the data, a mixture of scientific curiosity and personal revelation crossing her features. "It's overwhelming, but it's also liberating," she admitted. "To know there's a reason for how I feel, to understand that I might not be alone in my experiences." Encouraged by her response, Michael took a risk, switching the screen to display a photo of them together at the botanical gardens. He watched her closely, seeing the immediate softening in her eyes and the slight parting of her lips. "Michael," she breathed, her voice thick with emotion. "This is us." "Yes, it is," he replied, standing to join her. He took her hands in his, feeling them tremble slightly with her emotional intensity. "How do you feel about this?" Lyra looked up at him, her eyes glistening. "I feel joy, Michael. Pure, unguarded joy. And something more, something deeper that I'm still learning to name." In that moment, compelled by the depth of her revelation and the connection sparking between them, Michael leaned down and kissed her. It was a kiss that spoke of mutual discovery and acceptance, a confirmation of the extraordinary journey they were on together. As they parted, Lyra's laughter filled the room, light and freeing. "Michael, I can't control myself," she exclaimed, the phrase echoing their shared sentiment from their first kiss. "And you shouldn't have to," Michael responded, his voice tender. "This is about exploring the unknown together, about finding and defining what makes us uniquely ourselves." Together they turned back to the data, now not just colleagues but partners in a journey of exploration, of science, of emotions, and of each other. After their revelatory session in the lab, Michael and Lyra continued to explore the boundaries of their relationship, both personally and scientifically. Lyra had taken the initiative to delve deeper into understanding human intimacy and its emotional implications, and she was keen to apply this newfound knowledge practically. As they sat in the common area of Nova Prime, surrounded by the soft hum of the space station and the distant stars twinkling through the vast windows, Lyra turned to Michael with a thoughtful expression. "Michael, I've been reading about human relationships, about the importance of boundaries and consent. I think it's vital we discuss our own as we continue this journey." Michael nodded, appreciating her approach. "Absolutely, Lyra. Open communication is key. What's on your mind?" Lyra took a moment, organizing her thoughts. "I'm curious about the progression of physical intimacy in human relationships. I understand it's built on mutual trust and respect, but how do we navigate this considering our differences?" Michael considered her question, aware of the importance of his response. "Well, each relationship is unique, but it generally starts with smaller, more casual touches and gradually builds up as both partners feel more comfortable." "Could you show me an example?" Lyra asked, her voice a mix of curiosity and eagerness. "Sure," Michael said, and gently took her hand, tracing the back of it lightly with his fingers. "This is a simple touch. It's gentle, non-threatening." Lyra watched his movements, her eyes reflecting a mix of scientific interest and personal warmth. "And if I wanted to reciprocate or show that I am comfortable and wish to deepen our connection, you could return the gesture or initiate another form of contact that you feel comfortable with," Michael explained, watching her closely to gauge her comfort. Lyra then mirrored his action, her touch light on his arm. "Like this?" "Exactly," Michael smiled, the simplicity of the exchange belying the depth of the connection forming between them. Encouraged by their easy rapport, Lyra then took a bold step. In human terms, what would be the next level of intimacy? Michael thought for a moment, then responded, "Something like this," as he leaned forward and placed a gentle kiss on her cheek. Lyra's skin glowed softly where his lips had touched, and she turned to face him fully, a smile playing on her lips. "And if I wish to reciprocate?" she asked, her voice soft but confident. "You can, if you want to," Michael consented, maintaining eye contact. Lyra leaned in and returned the gesture, her kiss on his cheek lingering a bit longer, a silent communication of her growing affection and trust. As they pulled back, the air between them charged with a gentle electricity, Lyra spoke. "This exploration, it's thrilling. I feel like I can't control myself when I'm with you. It's all so new and overwhelming." Michael reached out, cradling her face gently. "It's new for me too, Lyra. We'll take it one step at a time together. You set the pace, and we'll keep checking in with each other." "Thank you, Michael," Lyra said, her voice filled with gratitude, "for being so understanding and patient." "It's not just you learning, I'm learning too," Michael replied, his words reinforcing their mutual journey. They spent the rest of the evening discussing various aspects of human and Thalrian relationships, each learning from the other. Their conversation deepened their understanding not just of each other's cultures, but also of themselves, pushing the boundaries of what they thought possible in an interspecies relationship. Over the weeks, Michael and Lyra's relationship had deepened into something profound and intricate. Their explorations of cultural and emotional boundaries led them to understand not just each other, but also aspects of their own identities that had been previously unexamined. This evening was no different as they met in the botanical gardens of Nova Prime, a place that had become their sanctuary. The gardens, under the canopy of stars visible through the transparent dome, offered a serene backdrop. The air was filled with the fragrance of alien flora, a gentle reminder of the unity and diversity aboard the space station. "Lyra," Michael began, his voice slightly hesitant as they walked along the path lined with bioluminescent plants. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about how far we've come and what we've learned together." Lyra smiled, turning to him with a knowing look. "I have as well. It's been an enlightening journey, Michael. I feel more alive, more connected than I ever thought possible." Their walk led them to a secluded bench where they sat, their shoulders touching. Michael took a deep breath, the stars reflecting in his eyes. "I want to show you something that's a significant human tradition. It's called stargazing, and it's often a way for people to connect, not just with the cosmos, but with each other." Lyra's eyes lit up with interest. "I would like that. Show me." Michael nodded and pointed upwards. "See that constellation? That's Orion. Each star has its own name, its own story." As Lyra listened, her hand found his, her grip gentle yet firm. They sat in silence for a moment, the vastness of the universe making their intimate space under the stars feel even more precious. "Lyra, there's something else," Michael continued, his voice soft but clear. "Stargazing often gives people the courage to speak truths. And my truth is, I've come to care for you deeply, more than I ever expected." Lyra turned to him, her expression open and vulnerable. "Michael, I feel the same. I never anticipated this level of emotion. It's overwhelming, and yet I wouldn't want to be anywhere else but here with you." Encouraged by her words, Michael leaned closer, his hand cupping her face gently. "May I?" he asked, his eyes searching hers for permission. With a nod, Lyra whispered, "Yes, please." Their kiss under the stars was slow and tender, a communion of spirits and a blending of worlds. It was a kiss that spoke of mutual respect, deep affection, and a fearless acceptance of whatever lay ahead. As they parted, Lyra breathed out, "I can't control myself." Her voice was a mix of delight and wonder. "Being with you, it's like discovering a new universe within my heart." "And for me, each moment with you is a revelation," Michael replied, his voice thick with emotion. "It's as if all my life I've been stargazing, but only now do I understand what I've been looking at." They spent the rest of the night there, under the celestial ballet, sharing stories of their planets, their hopes, and dreams. It was a night of many firsts, the first shared tradition, the first declaration of deep affection, and the first night they truly understood the power of their connection. Lyra, once puzzled by human emotion, now embraced it with an open heart, guided by Michael's gentle presence. And Michael, ever the scientist, found in Lyra a universe of new questions and beautiful mysteries to explore. Together, they were more than just a human and a Thalrian. They were explorers on the greatest journey of all, the journey of love. After the Galactic Unity Festival, Michael and Lyra had found their relationship entering new depths, their connection stronger and more intimate than either had anticipated. One quiet evening, after a long discussion about their future endeavors and the paths they hoped to explore together, they found themselves alone in Michael's quarters, surrounded by the soft hum of the space station. Lyra, standing at the panoramic window watching distant stars, turned to Michael with a contemplative look. "Michael, being with you has opened up realms of emotion that I never knew existed. It's both exhilarating and a bit overwhelming." Michael approached her, his presence reassuring. "I feel the same, Lyra. It's like we're on the edge of a new frontier, not just out there," he gestured to the stars, "but in here," he added, placing a hand over his heart. Lyra smiled softly, her nervousness fading under his gaze. "I'm ready to explore that frontier with you, Michael, fully." Encouraged by her words, Michael gently took her hand and led her to the bedroom, a private space adorned with soft, ambient lighting that cast a warm glow over the room. "Then let's explore together," he whispered. As they stood by the bed, Michael caressed Lyra's face, tracing the lines of her unique features with a tenderness that spoke volumes. Lyra closed her eyes, leaning into his touch, her breath quickening with anticipation. "May I?" Michael's voice was low, filled with desire, but respectful of her consent. "Yes," Lyra breathed out, her voice a mix of excitement and trust. Their kiss deepened as Michael guided Lyra down onto the bed, their movements slow and deliberate. Every touch, every caress, was a discovery, a gentle question asked and answered with mutual enthusiasm. Lyra, experiencing such profound intimacy with Michael, felt a surge of emotions she had only begun to understand. As they continued to explore each other, Lyra found herself swept up in a wave of pleasure that was unlike anything she had ever experienced. Her initial shock at the intensity gave way to a deep, engulfing joy. "I can't control myself," she exclaimed in a whisper, caught in the throes of her feelings. Michael responded with a reassuring smile, his actions gentle. "You don't have to control anything. Let's just be here, together." Their night was a beautiful exploration of love and intimacy, marked by shared smiles, laughter, and whispers. It was a night that deepened their bond beyond words, beyond even the stars under which they sailed. Lyra and Michael, in discovering each other, found new worlds within themselves, a universe of possibilities that only love could reveal. As their personal and professional partnership blossomed, Michael and Lyra were invited to participate in the annual Galactic Unity Festival, an event celebrated by various species across the universe to promote peace and collaboration. This year, the festival was held on Nova Prime, making it the perfect opportunity for them to showcase not just their research, but the strength of their unique bond. The festival was a vibrant tapestry of colors, sounds, and textures, with representatives from countless worlds sharing their cultures. Michael and Lyra were tasked with a special presentation, not just of their findings, but also a demonstration of Thalrian and human cultural exchanges. On the eve of their presentation, Lyra was a bundle of nerves. "Michael, to be part of this, to actually perform a dance from my culture in front of such an audience, I never imagined such a thing." Michael took her hands in his eyes reassuring. "Lyra, every step we've taken together has been leading to this moment. You've taught me so much about your people, and I've shared mine. This dance, it's just another step. Besides, I've seen your moves. You're going to be amazing." Lyra laughed, the sound mingling with the soft music floating through the air of the festival grounds. "I trust you, Michael. Let's show them how beautifully our worlds can blend." The day of their performance arrived, and the area around the main stage was packed with spectators. The couple stepped out onto the stage, their attire a mix of Thalrian and human elements, symbolizing their blended heritage. The music started, a slow, pulsing rhythm that resonated through the crowd. Lyra began with a traditional Thalrian dance, her movements graceful and flowing, telling the story of her people's journey through the stars. Michael joined her, adding human elements, his movements complementing hers in a dance that spoke of earth and sky meeting in harmony. As the dance progressed, their movements became more synchronized, a visual representation of their personal and professional synchronicity. The crowd watched, captivated by the fluidity and beauty of their performance, a dance that transcended cultural and species boundaries. When the music finally slowed and they came to a stop, the audience erupted in applause. Lyra and Michael bowed, their hearts swelling with pride and love, not just for each other, but for the unity they represented. After the performance, they walked hand in hand through the festival, absorbing the sights and sounds of the celebration. Lyra stopped at a booth displaying traditional Thalrian crafts. Picking up a delicate, glowing ornament, she handed it to Michael. "For you, to remember this day." Michael accepted it, a smile spreading across his face. "How could I forget? Today, like every day with you, is unforgettable." As the festival continued into the night, they joined other couples and groups in the communal dances, laughing and sharing in the joy of the festival. It was a night of celebration, of cultures and lives intertwining, of barriers breaking down under the universal language of music and dance. Their dance at the festival became a symbol, not just for them, but for all at Nova Prime, a symbol of hope, collaboration, and the incredible possibilities that arise when worlds unite. And as they danced under the stars, Michael and Lyra knew that their journey together was only just beginning. With each step, each turn, they were spinning a new story, a story of love, discovery, and unity that would resonate across galaxies. In the wake of the Galactic Unity Festival, Michael and Lyra's relationship had become a beacon of possibility, not only for interspecies cooperation, but also for personal connections that spanned the stars. The success of their dance and the impact of their combined presentations had brought them even closer, knitting their lives and destinies together more tightly. One quiet evening, as they stood looking out at the vast expanse of space from Nova Prime's observation deck, Michael turned to Lyra with a contemplative expression. "Lyra, these past months have been the most incredible of my life. The universe feels different because I'm experiencing it with you." Lyra nodded, her hand finding his. "I feel the same, Michael. Every day with you opens up new realms of feeling and understanding. I never imagined such a partnership could exist." Michael squeezed her hand, his gaze drifting across the star-filled void. "I've been thinking, what if we took the next step, not just in our relationship, but in our careers as well?" Curious, Lyra tilted her head, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "What do you mean?" "I mean, why not venture out together? We could explore new worlds, study other cultures firsthand. We could be ambassadors, not just for humanity or Thalrians, but for the possibility of unity among all species." Lyra's eyes widened, the idea sparking a new light within them. "That's a bold plan, Michael. To leave Nova Prime and travel the stars together, sharing and learning, I think it's a beautiful vision." Michael drew her closer, his voice soft but filled with determination. "I can't think of anyone else I'd rather journey with. We've started something here, something important, but the universe is wide, and there are countless stories out there waiting for us to discover them." Lyra leaned into his embrace, her mind racing with the possibilities. "Let's do it, Michael. Let's make this our life's work, our contribution to a greater understanding and peace." The decision made, they spent the next few weeks planning their departure. They coordinated with interstellar agencies, secured funding for their mission, and prepared to leave Nova Prime. Their friends and colleagues supported them, inspired by their vision and the potential impact of their work. On the day of their departure, a crowd gathered to bid them farewell. Michael and Lyra addressed their friends, their voices echoing through the station. "We're setting out to explore the unknown," Michael announced, his arm around Lyra. "But we carry with us the spirit of Nova Prime, the hope of unity, and the love that has grown between us." Lyra added, "We believe in the power of connection, of mutual respect and understanding. These are not just ideals. They are the tools with which we will navigate the stars." The ship that would take them on their new journey was ready, its engines humming with promise. As they stepped aboard, Michael and Lyra shared one last look back at the station that had been their home, their laboratory, and the birthplace of their love. With a final wave, they turned forward, their hearts and minds open to the adventure ahead. As the ship broke away from Nova Prime and slipped into the streaming lights of hyperspace, they knew that together they would forge a path that could change the universe. Their journey among the stars was not just a mission of exploration, but a testament to the bonds that they had formed, a journey of continuous discovery, not only of external worlds but also of the depths of their own hearts and souls. Together, they were unstoppable, guided by the stars and driven by love, on a voyage that would inspire generations to come.